grown our sports coaching business from one coach to over 100 coaches. How do we do it? Well, we're going to talk more about it in today's video. Now, from the early days, going from just myself as a sports coach and needing to get the next coach in was like a massive step for us, going from a one-man band into more of like a business and having that other coach in the team. So how do we do it? Well, we put job adverts up online, we put things on social media, and hopes that somebody might want to work for us, basically. Once that happened and we had somebody in and, could start realizing, hang on, I can do a session and this other coach can bring income in for the business at the same time, that really added value. And it made me think at the time that the ambitions we had then to grow that massively so that this income at a certain particular times in the week, when we know there's a high demand for the provision that we offer, we were like, well, we need to get more coaches in. And there's a lot of steps into that. It's not just a case of recruiting. It's more a case of understanding, like, how do you bring in good people? How do you build a good reputation? How do you retain people who are in your business? And ultimately, how do you make sure that the quality on the ground is still as strong as it was when it was just me to where it is today, where we have over 100 coaches? To get our recruitment right, we had to think about what was actually going to work for us to grow this business. Where did we need to focus our time for recruitment? And that's where we've used lots of different job search sites, and you can pay a lot of money for recruiters to go and find you people, but it just didn't seem right for us. Sometimes you need a coach for like 2 hours a week, and an external company would charge you like £500 to find that person. Well, that coach would need to work for like 20, 30 weeks to bring in the profit to cover that. That doesn't really make sense. What we thought about, right, it needs to be internal, but we need people coming to us rather than us going out and calling mates who used to coach and stuff like that. So those earlier days about what worked, and we found that certain job sites online, like Indeed, for example, is really good for you posting a job advert. You can even put like a sponsorship on it, and you come to the top. When people are actually searching on Google sports coaching jobs near me, our listings are coming up at the top, which means that we're bringing in more candidates. And bringing in more people isn't a case of, oh, they've applied, let's bring them in. You've still got to screen them. You've got to bring them in for an interview, make sure it actually works for the business. So to stop you having to waste so much time, you need more people coming in so that you have almost like the pick of the bunch to some extent, rather than sort of just scraping the barrel and taking the last person who's applied. It's important that you get that right. So I think that recruitment works, but after a few years, what happened, you've got 20, 30 coaches in the business, and they're all sporty people, and they know other sporty people, or they've worked at other coaching companies, or whatever it is. And we thought, right, okay, well, can we lean on them? So we actually coming up with an incentive where we'd pay our coaches a referral fee. So if a coach comes into uSports, referred by you, you get a little bonus as well. And that's helped bring in the right type of person. Because if we've already recruited a coach who works for us, we already know they're the right sort of fit for uSports. Chances are their friends are going to be the right sort of fit, because it's similar for that person to hang around with other people. They realistically are probably going to fit our sort of brand as well. And that's a really good way that we've used to build on what we've got already. Once we did start building up, so 20 or 30 coaches, a lot of those were doing those ad hoc hours, 2 or 3 hours a week. But I remember it got to a certain point where good coaches were about to leave because we couldn't offer them enough hours during the week. So although we didn't have 30 hours worth of work, I was almost put under pressure to go, right, I need to just go and find more work. So I remember writing the first contract out and giving someone an actual salary. It didn't matter how much work they did that month. I was legally obliged to pay them that amount at the end of the month. And that was hard. But it did help the sales side, because it gives you that push, because you know you've got to pay someone whatever happens, so you make sure you've got enough work for them. And I think being able to retain good people, and those chances where we were about to lose good people was those key decision making times, looking back in the business, of how we have grown to how many we have now. Because if we didn't create these new opportunities, they would leave. So by being able to offer 30 hours a week, or some people full-time, 40 hours, or whether it's 20 hours, whatever it is, it gave people that next platform to go, right, okay, well, I'm a bit more stable now, I know how much money I'm bringing in at the end of the month. And there was always opportunities for overtime at uSports because we've got so much work going on. And yeah, it's been a really good way to retain good people, and that's an important part of retaining people, making sure they're paid fairly and it's right. But also they need to be developing as well. So what we've implemented in the business is like a grade structure where basically the stronger and more experienced you become as a coach, the more you get paid. And so that was always an issue with coaches who were just on a set salary. They didn't know, right, how do I develop in this business? What's the next step? Where am I going from here? And that's where we implemented that. I think it was about after 3 or 4 years we implemented the grade strategy. Through doing that, you'd find like a new coach who was coming in who could lead a PE lesson. It was fun, safe, educational, but could only do it in certain sports. Well, for them to start moving up the ladder, they need to learn how to do it in gymnastics and dance and hockey and whatever else it is that they're not confident with. They then have to learn those skills, and we mentor them. We put them on training courses, and again, it just keeps people in the business. It's all good recruiting and bringing in more people, but if you're losing them the other side because you're not treating them well, then I think that does have a big impact on the business. So making sure people are paid fairly, and also making sure that you're creating opportunities for people to earn more money if they want to. Coach on 25 hours can go and do overtime. They can go and refer friends. They can introduce us to a school they know. By creating these opportunities, it's important for people to know that there's opportunities there. And also as a business that's always encouraging everybody to think about growth and ambition and moving forwards. Well, yes, we've got 100 now, but we hope soon we'll have 200 coaches. Well, when we have 200 coaches, there's more management jobs, there's other roles in the business. So even if you are a assistant who came in, one of our coaches, assistant, went to a lead coach, went to a contracted coach, went into a assistant position in the office, and then it goes into a management role. That can happen because we have a business that's growing. If we had a stale business that was just sitting where it is, it's not the best environment to help great people stay in the business because they don't know where they're going. As the business did grow and it went from just being sports coaching into a few more other bits like actual teacher CPD, upskilling teachers, suddenly we needed that really experienced coach, those mentors. We've got one-to-one work. We go into a lot of schools, we do like movement breaks. Well, that's maybe a slightly different coach. So by adding more and more provisions onto the business, whilst being careful not to bring in too many arms into the business that we can't keep quality over it, as we did bring in more people, what we found is that more of our customers wanted a slightly different type of provision. So although the bulk of our work is sports coaching, suddenly more schools wanted like the CPD. They wanted their teachers to be upskilled in PE by a specialist mentor. Well, that means that we need to bring in slightly different types of people. We have contracts where we move into more like the elite side of football coaching. So that's a different type of coach. We have work which is one-to-one work with particular children who need support in school. So it might be like the one-to-one alternative curriculum support. That's a different type of coach. So what happened, these different provisions came into the business, and through doing that, we needed more and more people, and that sort of moves you from one stage into the next stage. As long as these different arms that you're bringing into the business, you still have full control over, and the quality is still really good. And that's important for me. So we don't just take any opportunity that comes our way, because if we do, I know that we'd lose quality along the way. Now, as we went from that sort of 60, 70 coaches closer to where we are today with 100 coaches, we found that we were having to spend more and more of our time onboarding coaches, which is a really important part of the business. People come in, but what that was quite a repetitive task for us as managers. We had to, a new coach would come in, we'd show them how to use the software, we'd show them the philosophy and how we do certain things. And then the next coach would come in, we'd do the exact same process with them. So we tried to systemize it a little bit better. So we've actually brought in a lot of technology to help our onboarding process be a bit more efficient. So like the video I'm doing right now, we've got a whole video series on for a coach when they first join uSports, so they understand how we expect things to be done. How do they get paid? How do they access the registers? How do they do all of that sort of stuff? Allows us to focus more on the recruitment and not have to worry too much about the operations, because it's a repetitive task, so we've been able to systemize it. And that's an important thing. As you grow and get more and more people in, it's so easy to have to spend more and more of your time on the operations and not be able to focus on recruitment and sales. And those two, sales and recruitment, are going to be so important in any business for you to continue to grow. And finally, I touched on it earlier, but the mentoring that we are providing all of our coaches, I think, is one of the best assets that we have as a business. We have such good mentors who can come in to help a coach who is already delivering fantastic PE lessons but wants that next level, or whether it's a coach who's learning as an assistant and trying to get into that lead coach position. We have a team of mentors, and if we didn't have that, I feel like people who want to be developed and are ambitious could come into the business, feel like they're left on their own a little bit, and then just, it not fit for them, they leave. And so for you to go from 1 to 100, you have to be looking after the staff that you've got. And we know there is so much room for development. There's always ways that we can be better at mentoring our coaches and developing our coaches. But at the same time, I'm confident that we do provide support when a coach needs help, when we've identified a need for support. If we have any concerns about somebody or a particular session, we can try and get there and mentor and support coaches. And if you can do that, it really helps on that retention. So hopefully you've got from this video, for uSports to develop, not only did we need to get really good at recruitment, but we needed to get really good at looking after our staff, because it doesn't matter how good you are at recruitment, if people don't stay, you're never going to get to 100. So we've been very fortunate to get to this position where we are now. Like I say, we are very ambitious, we want to move forwards, and we want to get up to 200 before you know it, and I'll be doing a video about how we got to there, hopefully, in the near future. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.